The sun rose sluggishly over a frozen horizon, casting a weak, pale light across the endless expanse of tundra. A cold wind swept across the land, carrying with it the scent of snow, ice, and distant water. In the heart of this ancient wilderness, a herd of mammoths stirred from their restless slumber, their massive forms outlined against the frosted plains. Towering and majestic, the beasts moved with a deliberate grace, each step leaving deep impressions in the snow that would vanish only when the relentless wind erased every trace. Their long, curved tusks caught the morning light, gleaming like ivory sentinels against a world that had been unchanged for millennia. These creatures, survivors of countless winters and predators, now faced a day unlike any they had ever known, a day that would mark the end of their dominion over the frozen earth. The herd moved with quiet purpose toward a distant river, a lifeline in a world hardened by ice. Among them, the matriarch led with wisdom born of years spent navigating the perils of a harsh and unyielding landscape. Her eyes, dark and reflective, scanned the horizon constantly, alert for threats hidden in the whitewashed wilderness. Around her, younger mammoths mirrored her movements, learning the rhythms of survival that had been passed down for generations. They grazed on the sparse, frost-covered vegetation, their trunks brushing against brittle shrubs and tufts of grass, searching for the sustenance that would carry them through the relentless cold. The land itself seemed almost sentient, vast and indifferent, an ancient witness to the slow, inexorable march of these great beasts. As the day progressed, the temperature dipped further and the sky darkened with the promise of an approaching storm. Clouds swirled in heavy gray masses, a prelude to the blizzard that would soon sweep across the plains. The mammoths pressed on, their instinct guiding them to shelter and sustenance, unaware that forces beyond the natural order were conspiring against them. Beneath the frozen ground, ancient ice that had preserved the secrets of the earth for eons was beginning to shift, subtle tremors foretelling upheaval. It was a subtle, almost imperceptible change, yet it carried consequences that would ripple across the land. Nature had been patient, but its patience was not infinite. The world of the mammoths was about to confront a new kind of peril, one that no instinct, no wisdom passed through generations could have prepared them for. The matriarch paused at the edge of a frozen river, her massive body tense with anticipation. She lifted her trunk, sniffing the air, feeling the vibrations that carried the whispers of distant predators and hidden dangers. The herd followed her lead, their ears flicking at the slightest sound, their massive bodies forming a protective circle around the young and weak. Among them, a calf stumbled, its legs unsteady in the icy terrain. The matriarch nudged it gently, her tusk brushing its shoulder, offering reassurance. Survival was a delicate balance, one that had been maintained for millennia. Every step, every breath, every moment was a dance with the forces of life and death, and the mammoths had danced this dance for longer than any human memory could recall. The storm arrived suddenly, a wall of wind and snow that cut across the plains with violent force. The mammoths huddled together, seeking protection within the warmth of their massive bodies. Snow whipped into their eyes, obscuring vision, and the wind howled like an ancient predator. Yet they endured, driven by instinct and the quiet certainty that together they could weather any hardship. Their breaths formed clouds in the frigid air, their trunks entwined in fleeting gestures of comfort. Time seemed to stretch and bend in the storm's fury, each hour a test of endurance, each gust a reminder of the fragile balance between life and the relentless power of nature. It was in this crucible that the mammoth's resilience was tested, their ancient strength pushed to its limits. As the storm subsided, the land appeared transformed, sculpted by the ice and wind into unfamiliar forms. The mammoths emerged from their temporary refuge, their movements slow and deliberate. In the distance, a fissure in the earth opened like a wound in the frozen soil. Steam and gas hissed from the depths, carrying a noxious aroma that tinged the air with danger. The ground trembled beneath their feet, subtle vibrations that quickly grew into threatening quakes. Panic rippled through the herd. Instinct urged flight, yet the land offered no clear path. Ancient trails were obscured by snow and debris, rivers swollen by melting ice blocked their passage, and the familiar markers of survival had vanished beneath the wrath of a changing world. The matriarch, sensing the grave peril, trumpeted a warning, a low, resonant sound that vibrated through the cold air, urging the herd to move, to escape, to survive. The mammoths pressed on, navigating the treacherous terrain with extraordinary precision, each step measured, each movement calculated. Yet the earth itself seemed to conspire against them. Ice cracked beneath their immense weight, sending shards flying like deadly missiles. Hidden crevices yawned beneath the surface, swallowing snow and promising sudden death. Predators, drawn by the smell of fear and vulnerability, watched from the shadows, their eyes glinting in the dim light. Wolves and saber-toothed cats, creatures of cunning and power, circled the edges of the herd, hesitant to attack, yet opportunistic in their strategy. Life and death hung in a delicate, terrifying balance, and the mammoths, symbols of endurance and strength, felt the pressure of an unseen hand tipping the scales. Amid this chaos, the youngest members of the herd struggled to keep pace. A calf, no more than a few months, faltered near the edge of a ravine. Its small legs trembled, and its breath came in rapid, panicked bursts. The matriarch swung her massive head, driving back the approaching predators, her tusks a formidable barrier between life and death. Other members of the herd formed a protective semicircle, their bodies shielding the vulnerable while moving as a cohesive unit. Instinct and experience merged seamlessly in these creatures, a testament to millions of years of evolution honed in the crucible of survival. Yet, even as they displayed extraordinary resilience, the forces arrayed against them were beyond the ordinary challenges of predation or climate. The world itself had begun to change in ways that no animal could fully comprehend. Beneath the surface of the earth, deep fissures cracked open with the force of tectonic upheaval. Gas and steam erupted from these hidden vents, sending clouds of noxious smoke into the air. The landscape shifted violently, altering rivers and lakes, collapsing forests and plains into chasms of ice and stone. The mammoths, sensing danger, moved with increasing urgency, their massive feet pounding the earth in a desperate bid for survival. The air grew thick with ash and dust, carrying a faint but unmistakable acrid scent of volcanic activity from far-off eruptions. Visibility became nearly zero, and sound itself was distorted by the roar of shifting ice and the thunder of distant avalanches. The herd moved as a single living entity, each member responding to the movements of the others, yet the world they had once mastered now seemed alien, hostile, and unrecognizable. As they pressed through this transformed landscape, tragedy struck. The earth beneath one of the younger mammoths gave way, plunging it into a hidden crevice. The herd froze, trumpeting in alarm, but the matriarch's calm, commanding presence directed them onward. Survival demanded focus, even in the face of loss. The fallen calf became part of the unforgiving history of the tundra, a reminder that even the mightiest creatures could fall victim to forces far greater than themselves. Around them, the herd's movements grew more urgent, more coordinated, as instinct and necessity drove them forward. They navigated rivers swollen with meltwater, crossed frozen plains slick with ice, and avoided fissures that opened suddenly in the trembling ground. Every step was a negotiation with fate, every breath a defiance of the overwhelming power of nature. Hours passed, and the mammoths, though exhausted, reached the edge of a vast valley. The landscape stretched endlessly, a frozen wasteland punctuated by jagged cliffs and towering ice formations. In the distance, volcanic activity sent plumes of smoke and fire into the sky, painting the horizon with hues of orange and crimson. The ground vibrated beneath their feet, a constant reminder of the instability around them. Yet even amid this chaos, the herd found moments of connection and comfort. Calves nuzzled their mothers, adults rubbed against one another in gestures of reassurance, and the matriarch's quiet presence maintained cohesion and purpose. It was a fragile, fleeting sense of peace in a world teetering on the edge of catastrophe. As evening fell, the temperature plunged further, and the first stars appeared in the twilight sky. The mammoths settled in a small, sheltered depression, huddling together for warmth and security. Snow drifted around them, softening the harsh contours of the land, yet the sense of imminent danger remained palpable. The matriarch lifted her trunk, sensing the vibrations of the earth and the distant echo of predators and natural disasters alike. The herd, though weary, remained vigilant, each member alert to the slightest movement or sound. Their